To follow up on video number 6, I'm going to be creating another nested loop today. Just like our multiplication table, I'm going to create a for loop for int. I'm going to call it row, starting from 0. Row will be up to 10. And I'm going to draw a box, std cout. Let me go into my character map, console as, pick a box, select, copy, put it in there. And then after I'm done repeating, I'm just gonna end the line. F5. Okay, we drew the box 10 times. Now all I got to do is repeat the entire process over again. So I'm going to create another for loop. This time I'm going to call it columns. And starting from 0, this time let me go up to 15. Put this entire process under the for loop. Press F5. Okay, now we have 15 columns. Let me put this inside a struct. I'm gonna create something called grid. I'm gonna create a function called render. Put the whole thing in there. And inside our main, I can now create a grid called grid, and then call the function called render. Press F5. Okay, we get the same result. It's just a little more organized here. But I also want to decide how many rows and columns that I get. So inside the grid struct, let me create an int called total x, another int called total y. And as I'm creating a grid, I'm going to decide how many rows and columns I want. For example, 12 and 14. And instead of just using a number here, I'm going to say total x and total y. Now if I run this, okay, we get a 12 by 14 grid. I can change this to whatever I want, 4 and 8, F5. Okay. Let's also try debugging this. I'm going to set a breakpoint here, F9, run the debugger. And every time I press continue, we get a box. Okay, you can see it going in order all the way up to the end where we finish the for loop. Oops. Now let me do something a little more interesting. On top, I'm going to create something called GridObject. It's going to have an int called x and y. I'm going to create the object, GridObject, obj, and just some random number for x and y. Now for our render function, I'm going to take in the GridObject, obj, and before we draw a box, I'm going to check if the x and y equals column and row. Oh wait, it's row and column. Okay, if they match, I'm going to draw the object. If not, I'm going to draw the normal grid. I'm going to copy paste. Look for another symbol, something like this. Copy paste it in there. And then down in our main, I'm going to put the object into the function. Now if I run this, looks like I made a mistake. Total y, total x. Now let me run this. Okay, we see our object at the grid position. And I can change the numbers, something like 20. This might be a little too high, but let me just try running it. Okay. Let me try 0. Okay, you can place your object wherever you want. Now, you might not be able to show certain symbols on your console menu. Let me try this one. This one works. Remember, there were ones where you cannot use. Okay. You get a question mark instead. Don't worry too much about this. Use whatever letters or symbols that are available. Okay, we might need one more space here to make the grids match. Okay. You could still be creative with the default ASCII letters and symbols. Or later, you could be using a mini grid inside a bigger grid to represent a single point. So again, don't worry too much about the symbols. Just try drawing your own grid and your own little player inside that grid. In fact, I'm going to say that's your homework assignment. Try drawing grids of different sizes. Also try drawing multiple objects inside your grid, which could represent things like the player, the enemy, or the items that you could pick up. And homework number 2, I have a sample here. I'm not going to show you my code. You can draw basic shapes using a bunch of for loops. And as you can see, I can also change the numbers and which letter I use to draw the grid or the shape. Okay. I can also change the value here. 12, letter U, F5. Okay, here you see the result. This can be a little confusing, but try Googling if you don't understand, and you should be able to figure this one out on your own. Okay, that's it for this video. If you have any questions, you can reach me on my Discord server. I have all the links below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.